We are living in a volatile political environment. You could put half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorable.
Come on, man.
If the Trump administration approves a vaccine before or after the election, should Americans take it, and would you take it?
If the public health professionals, if Dr. Fauci, if the doctors tell us that we should take it, I'll be the first in line to take it. Absolutely. But if Donald Trump tells us that we should take it, I'm not taking it.
Come on, man. And if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
It was a debate.
The last 2 weeks have been eventful. The unprecedented infiltration of our airspace and possibly the worst humanitarian and ecological crisis the United States has ever seen on U.S. soil has made for an interesting and scary news cycle. The fact that UFO sightings and possible attacks on our infrastructure occurred within days of each other pushes the line of coincidence. You know, it's almost like a collage of events that you would see in the beginning credits of a disaster movie. It's almost unbelievable. Truth is stranger than fiction, and the fact that the U.S. is attempting to cover up the objects we shot down, which we will be talking about in the big lead, while ignoring what happened in East Palestine, Ohio, and brushing aside other train derailments that occurred in several other states, is leading me to believe that something more sinister is on the horizon. Are we under attack? Now, I don't know. No, it kind of feels that way. What happened in East Palestine, Ohio, has opened up a door that our government would like to keep shut. Train derailments happen all the time, especially in Washington state, but the reason they happen is because of sabotage. The FBI has investigated 40 cases of sabotage within the last 2 years in Washington state alone. So was East Palestine a victim of sabotage? Now, maybe. Environmental extremists are constantly attacking our infrastructure. The Times did an article on it, and it laid out the bleak reality if we were to lose our power grid. The Daily Mail reported the power grid was physically attacked 107 times in the first 8 months of 2022. So yeah, maybe we are under attack. But not by foreign actors, but by Marxists who embed themselves within environmental groups. You know, they use a good cause to justify their planned chaos, which is to spark the revolution that will topple the capitalist society within America and bring in the communist renaissance. And here's a big if true, big maybe. Maybe the FBI was aware of a planned sabotage on the rail system in East Palestine, Ohio. And they allowed the sabotage to occur in order to create a new news cycle that would divert attention away from the security threat that is currently happening in our airspace. Big if true. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Deplorable Talk Show. You are here with Mr. Deplorable himself, Israel Perez. So, this is a show where I give you my unfiltered opinion on politics and culture. I know nothing about the things I choose to talk about, but this is America, where opinions are just like assholes. Everyone has one. I just choose to record mine and spread it on the internet. So, in today's show, we will be talking about 2024. Now, the presidential election is upon us, whether you like it or not. I will then hard segue into an article written by the New York Times, which says that right-wing extremists are spreading lies about East Palestine, Ohio. The big lead for today will be about UFOs. Were the security threats in our airspace 2 weeks ago balloons or extraterrestrials? And to let you in on a little secret, the government doesn't even know. So, 2024 is upon us, and whether you like it or not, 2023 will be the year of presidential announcements. The most recent person to announce they will be running for president is Nikki Haley. Now, if you are wondering who the fuck Nikki Haley is, you're not alone. So is the rest of America, including myself. Now, I could go through and give a background story, but to be honest, I don't care. No, because the only person who can give Trump a run for his money is Ron DeSantis, and as Trump likes to call him, Meatball Ron. No, there are a lot of people excited about a potential Ron DeSantis bid for president. But I'm going to be honest with you here. DeSantis' odds of winning are only good if it's just him and Trump head to head. But if we were to mix these people in, so if any of these people run, DeSantis has no chance. And I guarantee you right now, Cheney, Pence, Pompeo, and Christie will be putting in a bid for president. Now, this is all just hypothetical. No, DeSantis hasn't even made a bid or hinted at one. But that doesn't stop George Soros from fantasizing. George Soros called Donald Trump a pitiful figure who is hemorrhaging support and whose narcissism has turned into a disease. Shots fired. Billionaire investor George Soros, a frequent subject of right-wing conspiracy theories, slammed former President Donald Trump as a has-been who could ruin the GOP's chances in 2024 with his narcissistic tendencies. Soros described the former president as a pitiful figure who spends his time moaning about his election loss in 2020. Soros, who pumped millions into the progressive groups in 2022 midterms, becoming the biggest donor of the election cycle, said he hopes it is a Trump and Florida Governor DeSantis slug out for the Republican nomination ahead of 2024 presidential election. He described DeSantis in more favorable terms, calling him shrewd, ruthless, and ambitious. I wouldn't call those favorable, but okay. The billionaire was speaking at a Munich security conference on Thursday. Soros said that Trump is deeply flawed character, adding that Republican donors are deserting him in droves. Okay. Earlier this month, the network of donors created by the conservative billionaire Charles Koch, I think that's how you say his last name, revealed in a memo that it wanted to turn the page on the past for 2024, a vile swipe at Trump. Soros added, DeSantis is likely to pip Trump to the nomination, but that the former president's narcissism has turned into a disease that could lead him to run as a third-party candidate. That would lead to a Democratic landslide and force the Republican Party to reform itself, Soros said. Okay. Whatever you say, Soros. So, I do agree that a head-to-head matchup would probably result in a possible DeSantis victory. And that's a big possible, all right? But that's not going to happen. And Soros is well aware of that. What Soros is trying to do is sabotage the Republican Party. He knows that his comments will cause infighting amongst the factions. And here's a poll to contradict Soros and, prove my point. So this is tweeted out by Interactive Polls. And this poll is conducted by Harvard Harris. And it shows in a head-to-head, right, Ron DeSantis will lose by 12 points. And I think that would be a lot closer, but what do I know, right? But let's look at the other prediction up here with the actual candidates in it who will probably be putting in their bid. And as we can see, Trump wins in a landslide. Now, if we were to take out Tim Scott, Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, and Pompeo, all right, and give all their points to Ron, that would put Ron at a 30%, and Trump still wins. So, at the end of the day, though, this is all just speculation. But if we see more campaign videos like this from future candidates, I guarantee a Trump win.
The railroad tracks divided the town by race. I was the proud daughter of Indian immigrants. Not black, not white. I was different. But my mom would always say, your job is not to focus on the differences, but the similarities. And my My parents reminded me and my siblings every day how blessed we were to live in America.
What I wanted
Some look at our past as evidence
is what
that
happened to her
America's
skin
founding
color.
principles are bad.
How do you get
They say the
lighter in
promise
skin
of
color?
freedom is just made up.
I understand getting like
Some
a
think
lighter
our ideas
shade.
are not just wrong, but
That's a
racist
drastic
and evil.
change.
Nothing could be further from the truth. I have seen evil. In China, they commit genocide. In Iran, they murder their own people for challenging the government. And when a woman tells you about watching soldiers throw her baby into
Look how
a
dark
fire,
she looks there.
it puts things in perspective. Even on our worst day, we are blessed to live
You
in
start
America.
losing pigmentation when you get
I
older?
was born and raised in South Carolina, so I have seen the very best of our country. People here threw out the old, tired political establishment and demanded accountability for their tax dollars. Industry reports called us the beast of the Southeast.
The beast of the
Well, tell us.
Southeast.
People came by the thousands for fresh starts. Moms and dads held their heads up high. Children learned that it was always
It's a great day in South Carolina. It's a great day.
It's a great day.
A great day.
a great day in South Carolina. We were strong. We were proud. And when evil did come,
Police in South Carolina are looking for a gunman following a shooting at a church in
Several
downtown
victims. We don't know the severity.
we turned away from fear, toward God, and the values that still make our country the freest and greatest in the world.
Oh, she's Christian, huh?
We must
Okay.
turn in that direction again. Republicans have lost the popular vote in 7 out of the last 8 presidential elections. That has to change. Joe Biden's record is abysmal, but that shouldn't come as a surprise.
Not wrong.
The Washington establishment has failed us over and over and over again. It's time for a new generation of leadership to rediscover fiscal responsibility,
What does that mean?
secure
New
our
generation.
border, and strengthen our country, our
Like,
pride,
what-
and our purpose.
All of them say that it's time for a new generation, but they never elaborate what the new generation looks like.
Some people
They just
look at
fucking
America
put out the same
and
talking
see
points.
vulnerability.
Fiscal
The
responsibility.
socialist left sees an opportunity to
It's like
rewrite
Jesus.
history. China and Russia.
It's a
are
new
on
generation
the march.
repeating the same
They all
mistakes.
think we can be bullied,
You know,
kicked around. You should know this about
that's what
me.
you represent.
I don't put up with bullies. And when you kick back, it hurts them more if you're wearing heels. I'm Nikki
Jesus.
Haley, and I'm running for president.
Oh no! Fucking no! No! All right. Well, first things first here, huh? If you don't look the parts, don't play the race card that hard. No, she looks like a suburban housewife who recently became an empty nester. You know? I don't get how you lose that much pigmentation in your skin, you know? Also, no one cares about the girl boss thing, dude. No, I don't put up with bullies. When you kick back, it hurts more in heels. No one cares about you being a strong, independent woman. Nobody. I don't care. I don't really care at all. I don't. It doesn't help me. It doesn't help me. It doesn't help what we're trying to do. You being a strong, independent woman. You know? Republicans need to stop trying to play this identity politics bullshit. No, that's not who we are. No, it didn't work with the Republican response in Spanish, and it's not working here. It's cringy, to say the least. And speaking of cringy, the New York Times the other day put out an article which was kind of odd. No, they're not even trying to hide the propaganda anymore. You know, let's take a look at this headline real quick. Chernobyl 2.0, Ohio train derailment spurs wild speculation. Wild speculation, huh? The government set fire to 18,000 tons of hazardous chemicals, creating a carcinogenic mushroom cloud. The government has done nothing about it, and Biden said he wouldn't be visiting East Palestine, Ohio. So, of course, people are going to be speculating and thinking the worst. No, and just in case you haven't seen the controlled burn, this is what it looked like. Yeah. Let's just go back here real quick. Just real quick. Look at this. So that's just because it's currently on fire, right? And it's just kind of smoldering a little bit. I'm sure they could have put some type of chemical down to reduce the chance of it getting worse. But no. They say we need to control burn this because it might explode. Yeah. And boom, there it goes. What the fuck, dude? Look at that. Wow. Look at that. Okay. Okay. I think we got it, huh? I think you got it. Oh, man, dude. That's insane. So, let's see what garbage propaganda the New York Times is spreading to the masses. All right, so I'm just going to read the article for you here, all right? Since a train carrying hazardous materials derailed in Ohio nearly 2 weeks ago, residents have feared for their safety. A controlled burn of toxic materials has filled the air and covered the surface waters and soil with chemicals. Dead fish have floated in nearby creeks, and unnerving aroma has lingered in the air. But for many commentators from across the political spectrum, the speculation has gone from far beyond known facts. Right-wing commentators have been particularly critical, using the crisis to sow distrust about governmental agencies and suggest the damage could be irreparable. I think it is, but that's just me. On social media like Twitter and Telegram, commentators have called the situation the largest environmental disaster in history, or simply Chernobyl 2.0, invoking the 1986 nuclear disaster. Well, I think everybody knows what Chernobyl is, but okay. They weren't without evidence that vital water reservoirs serving states downriver could be badly contaminated. And they suggested that authorities, railroad companies, and mainstream news media were purposefully obscuring the full toll of the crisis. Planned attack, cover up on both, Ask Conservative Daily Podcast, a program known for pushing far-right talking points. I see where they're going with this, huh? Some of the speculation was echoed by mainstream outlets like Fox News, who suggested the fallout could be catastrophic. You better punch in at 9 a.m., Ohio, even if it means inhaling mustard gas on your way in, said sarcastic Jesse Waters, the Fox News host, on Tuesday over a title reading, "Ohio Town Looks Like Chernobyl." That's kind of funny. The Environmental Protection Agency and state officials have acknowledged that the situation in East Palestine, Ohio is disastrous in many ways. After the train derailed on February 3rd, a fire broke out and about 50 to 150 cars were derailed or damaged. Fearing an explosion, officials ordered nearby residents to evacuate before conducting a controlled burn, which released toxic plumes of smoke for several hours that was visible for miles. You could just use chemicals to keep it from exploding. You could have flown helicopters over to keep it from exploding and dropped chemicals on it. All right, whatever. Since the EPA has said air quality has returned to safe levels, residents have been allowed to return. A chemical odor lingers because people can smell the contaminants even when they are far below hazardous concentrations, according to the agency. Water testing found no indication of risk to public water systems so far, the EPA said, though private wells should be tested. Utilities drawing from the Ohio River will take precautions, and at least one company said it had not detected any changes in the water. A town hall meeting on Wednesday, frustrated residents pressed officials for assurance that the air and water were safe. Experts urged cautions as they assured the long-term consequences, warning that airborne contaminants can settle on surfaces, seep into wells, and migrate through cracks into basements and homes. Yet influencers and right-wing commentators were quick to draw with conclusions of their own, theorizing about the extent of the damage and the federal response, which they have said amounted to an extensive cover-up. So, I understand why people are, asking questions here. It's because the EPA is the same governmental agency that told people in New York when the towers fell the next day that it was okay to go back to work because the air quality was safe. They told people that the air quality outside of the disaster zone was safe to breathe as well. And it wasn't. I think it was like 100 miles. I'm not going to say anything on that one because I don't know how far, but the air around the disaster zone was not okay to breathe, and it was the same like a couple miles out. So if people don't trust the EPA, I fucking understand. It's a real scary thing, said Nick Sorter, a video journalist who has covered the situation on Tucker Carlson Tonight, the popular Fox News show. To think that the federal government cannot be trusted enough to tell us whether or not it's safe to go into an area like this. Well, they forced the COVID vaccines on the country, Mr. Carlson replied, so I think they can't be trusted. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, who oversees railroads, has become a target of criticism of many conservatives. Mr. Carlson calling Mr. Buttigieg flamboyantly incompetent and said his actions were uncaring almost to the point of evil. Online, some non-scientists wrote elaborate analysis about the toxic chemicals, speculating that the airborne concentrations of vinyl chloride, one of the chemicals being carried on the train, was dangerously high. They rebuffed the EPA's assessment that the air was safe, concluding instead that the area surrounding East Palestine was badly contaminated for miles. And then we later find out that there was more than just vinyl chloride that they were burning. So, mind you, I'm not a chemist, but simply looking up what these compounds can do is worrying, wrote one user on the chat app Telegram, and an analysis claiming the toxins would have been safer if not burned. Yeah, probably. In the town meeting on Wednesday, Trent R. Conaway, the mayor of East Palestine, said, there were two options. Either we blow it up or it blows up itself. There wasn't a third option. I'm sure there was a third option. You got pressured by the railroad company so they could start fucking making money again. That's what happened there. That's what happened there. Local media reports describe several environmental consequences for the controlled burn, including that some fish were found dead in nearby creeks and that some domesticated animals had fallen sick. An EPA representative said at the town meeting that the chemicals were lethal to fish, not humans. And that the waterways were already repopulating with fish. I doubt that. But those reports quickly melded with unconfirmed and far more severe reports of environmental harms extending far beyond the burn site. Dead fish and cattle being reported as far as 100 miles away from the site, wrote Stu Peters, a right-wing commentator on Twitter, offering no evidence. The tweet received more than 40 million views. The belief in a cover-up has gained steam in the days since as internet users used the hashtag #OhioChernobyl to claim that national and local media were ignoring the disaster, though all major news networks and several local news organizations devoted at least some coverage to the events. They didn't. They didn't. Those claims were emboldened after a reporter for News Nation, a cable television news channel, was arrested while filming a report at a news conference and charged with criminal trespassing and resisting arrest. The charges were later dropped. The reason they dropped the charges is because they couldn't do that because he has a fucking press pass and he could be there. So, how does a reporter get hit with criminal trespass? Asked Chris Cuomo, the former CNN anchor who hosts a show on News Nation. I'll tell you how. This is when people in power don't want you around. Jesus. No! No! New York Times, you're making me agree with Chris Cuomo. If we're agreeing with Chris Cuomo, there's something fucking wrong here, man. You're on the wrong side. Fuck. Why? Man. So, the New York Times was basically saying, yes, all the claims made by right-wing extremists are true, but the fact that they are pushing wild conspiracy theories that the government planned this and is using media to obscure what is happening in East Palestine, Ohio, completely discredits their claims. No, and if you question the current administration, you're a right-wing extremist. If you question the legitimacy of legacy media, you're a right-wing extremist. If you are concerned about the health and well-being of the citizens and the environmental fallout, you're a right-wing extremist.
These aren't storm clouds. This is the fucking shit that they burn off, the fucking shit they burn off in East Palestine. This is not fucking storm clouds. Look at it. This is over Darlington.
Insane, man. And now, mind you guys, Darlington, Ohio is 120 miles away from East Palestine, Ohio. So, let's get into the big lead.
The sharing of biased and
false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media checking facts first. Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
UFOs, one of my favorite topics. And I mentioned it briefly in the previous episode, but I had no idea it would get this weird as quickly as it did. So, before we get into the strange, let's recap. It all started with the Chinese spy balloon that transited the U.S. 3 weeks ago. So, no one really knows why the Biden administration let the balloon stay in U.S. airspace as long as it did. Well, they gave us answers, but I don't believe them. All the Biden administration did was give the GOP and Trump ammunition heading into 2024. The first thing that Trump truthed once everyone learned about the balloon is this. Shoot down the balloon. Fucking Trump. According to the reports, Biden was aware of the balloon when it was first spotted over Alaska on the 28th. Biden officials kept quiet about suspected Chinese spy balloon, fearing diplomatic and political fallout. Biden administration officials kept quiet for nearly a week after the suspected Chinese spy balloon first entered U.S. airspace, fearing the matter would derail Secretary of State Antony Blinken's planned trip to Beijing, according to a new report. U.S. officials first became aware of the balloon on January 28th when it was spotted over Alaska before entering Canadian airspace and returning over U.S. skies over northern Idaho on Tuesday. Bloomberg reported citing several officials familiar with the matter. By the time the balloon was spotted over Montana, which is home of one of America's 3 nuclear missile fields at Malmstrom Air Force Base, President Biden had already been briefed on the balloon and was deciding on whether to shoot it down. So, they knew about it before it entered for the second time in U.S. airspace in Idaho. And knowing that it was transiting the lower 48, he still did not think to address the American citizens. And the reason being is because Biden didn't want to derail Blinken's trip to talk with Xi. Sure. Okay, and if that's the real reason for the secrecy on the balloons, why didn't they take care of it when they saw it first lift off from China? No. Why didn't they take care of it when it floated over Guam? Why didn't they take care of it when it floated over Hawaii? Now, there was tons of open water for it to fall in, but they waited till it transited the entire U.S. before they shot it down off the coastline of the Carolinas.
Back here in Washington, there is breaking news tonight on that Chinese spy balloon. CBS News has just learned that U.S. intelligence watched the high-flying airship as it lifted off near China's south coast. That means the U.S. military had been tracking it for nearly a week before it entered U.S. airspace, longer than originally known. CBS's Nancy Cordes is at the White House. So, Nancy, they were watching this from the beginning?
They were, Nora, and what they saw was this balloon heading east from China towards Guam and Hawaii. But then it took a sharp northward turn, a beeline towards Alaska.
So, they knew about it. They saw it lift off from China. Jesus. Lies on lies, man. No, and they wonder why the U.S. citizens don't trust their government. No, they wonder why crackpot conspiracy theories get started. This brings us to the weirder situation that happened shortly after we shot down that weather balloon. U.S. jets shoot down unknown object flying over Alaska coast. A U.S. military fighter jet shot down an unknown object flying off the remote northern coast of Alaska on Friday on orders from President Joe Biden, White House officials said. White House National Security Council spokesman John Kirby said the object was down because it was flying at about 40,000 feet and posed a reasonable threat to the safety of civilian flights, not because of any knowledge that it was engaged in surveillance. Asked about the object's downing, Biden on Friday said only that it was a success. Commercial airlines and private jets can fly at about 45,000 feet. Kirby described the object as roughly the size of a small car, much smaller than the massive suspected Chinese spy balloon downed by Air Force fighter jets Saturday off the coast of South Carolina after it transited over sensitive military sites across the continental U.S. The twin downing in such close succession are extraordinary and reflect heightened concerns over China's surveillance program and public pressure on Biden to take a tougher stand against it. Still, there were a few answers about the unknown object down Friday, and the White House drew distinctions between the two episodes. Officials couldn't say if the latest object contained any surveillance equipment, where it came from, or what purpose it had. Okay. Odd. No. And what I think makes this incident veer from the realm of extraterrestrial is what the pilot said about the craft.
On Thursday, the U.S. defense officials sent F-35 fighter jets up to try to figure out what this object was that was flying around near Alaska. Those pilots, we have learned, have given very conflicting accounts of what they actually experienced, with some pilots saying that the object interfered with the plane's sensors, other pilots saying that they didn't really experience that, other pilots saying that when they looked at the object, they could identify no identifiable propulsion system, and they did not know how it was actually staying in the air, cruising at that altitude of about 40,000 feet. So this has all added to the Pentagon's wariness of describing in more detail what this object actually is until they can get more information through the debris that they are recovering right now.
And so, odd. I think it's odd. No, that's just me, huh? But it gets stranger. Because the next day, miles apart from each other, this happens. U.S. shoots down unidentified cylindrical object over Canada. A U.S. F-22 fighter jet shot down an unidentified cylindrical object over Canada on Saturday, the second such instance in as many days, as North America appeared on edge following a week-long Chinese spying balloon saga that drew the global spotlight. And just in case you need confirmation, Justin Trudeau confirmed this situation. I ordered the takedown of an unidentified object that violated Canadian airspace. NORAD shot down the object over the Yukon. Canadian and U.S. aircraft were scrambled, and a U.S. F-22 successfully fired at the object. All right. And then, several hours later, from the Canadian shootdown, this happens. Havre, Montana airspace closed for national defense, then reopened. The U.S. Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, temporarily closed and then reopened airspace over Havre, Montana on February 11, 2023, declaring it a national defense airspace, according to NOTAM alert from the FFA Montana congressman. NORAD later released a statement saying that no object was identified despite a radar anomaly, and tweets to the contrary from a congressman and U.S. senator. Well, that's odd. That's very odd. So a representative in Montana, Matt Rosendale, tweeted the next day a statement that contradicted the statement made by NORAD that we just read. I am in constant communication with NORCOM, and they have just advised me that they have confidence there is an object and it was not an anomaly. I am waiting now to receive visual confirmation. Our nation's security is my priority. So, now if you're just thinking he's worried or whatever, his statement was vindicated several hours later because the object that was detected by NORAD and brushed off as an anomaly was spotted again on radar in Michigan and was shot down. Military shoots down high-altitude object over Lake Huron, officials say. Another high-altitude object was shot down on Sunday afternoon, this one over Lake Huron in Michigan. 3 U.S. officials confirmed to ABC News, marking the latest in a string of such incidents. The object was shot down by U.S. military aircraft, according to one of the officials. A senior administrative official said President Joe Biden directed the object to be shot down out of an abundance of caution and at the recommendation of military leaders. The official said the object was shot down. The official said the object shot down was detected on radar over Montana on Saturday and was seen again on radar over Wisconsin and Michigan on Sunday. The object was octagonal in structure, unmanned, and traveling at about 20,000 feet, the official said. There is no indication of surveillance capabilities, but the administration cannot rule that out. Octagonal in shape, huh? That's insane. I don't know a balloon that looks like that. And what pushes that situation into the realm of extraterrestrial is what happened when we first launched a missile at it. The missile missed its target. That doesn't fucking happen. Military missed UFO with first missile shot over Lake Huron, General Mark Milley says. A U.S. fighter pilot tasked with shooting down an unknown object over Lake Huron this past weekend missed the intended target on the first shot, sending a missile plunging into the Great Lake. Joint Chief of Staff Chairman General Mark Milley said Tuesday. First shot missed, second shot hit, Milley said, of the AIM-9X Sidewinder missiles fired by an F-16 fighter jet at about 20,000 feet over Michigan on Sunday afternoon. In this case, the missile landed harmlessly in the water of Lake Huron. Look, those missiles don't miss unless the target it is shooting has equipment to defend against it. Also, since we used a heat-seeking missile, that means the object was producing some type of heat signature. That means the object was not a balloon. And whatever the object was, it was sophisticated enough to dodge the Sidewinder missile. You know, and maybe balloons do have heat signatures. I mean, but why did it miss? If gas to carry a balloon that high has heat signatures, how did it miss? That's the question. And another question is, how long have these objects been floating around in our airspace? It's insane, man. No, and the reason we are starting to see these objects is because NORAD changed their radar calibration, you know, after the balloon debacle, you know, which is why we're seeing anomalies, you know. And here's a map of where these interactions took place, just to give you an idea of how close they were to each other. So, obviously, the February 10th one was on the northern Alaska border up there by the Arctic. And then on Saturday, the one in Canada was on February 11th. And then that same day in central Montana, the anomaly was spotted. And then the next day, the anomaly became true in Lake Huron on the 12th. So just to kind of give you an example of where it was at, right? So, the thing is, our government doesn't know what these are, which is scary. And the Pentagon update during the Super Bowl doesn't give me any confidence in the government being straightforward with us about these objects.
Yeah, so I'm not going to categorize them as balloons. We're calling them objects for a reason. Certainly the event off the South Carolina coast for the Chinese spy balloon, that was clearly a balloon. These are objects. I am not able to categorize how they stay aloft. It could be a gaseous type of balloon inside a structure, or it could be some type of a propulsion system.
Does gas give off a heat signature? Maybe. But why did we miss, right? If it was just a fucking balloon, why did we miss?
And urge you not to attribute it to any specific country. We don't know. That's why it's so critical to get our hands on these so that we can further assess and analyze what they are.
There we go. We don't know. We don't know. You know, and it doesn't surprise me that they're already trying to cover it up.
They also revealed today that the 3 subsequent objects they shot down probably were not involved in spying.
The 3 objects shot down this weekend may have been harmless research balloons.
Okay.
That's now a leading theory for the intelligence community.
There's strong consideration that these objects are indeed benign.
They won't know for sure until they find the debris.
They're in very difficult terrain.
The chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff described the challenge. One object came down in the Arctic Circle, where it's minus 40 degrees. The second came down in a hard-to-reach part of the Canadian Rockies. And the third plunged into Lake Huron, a couple of 100 feet deep.
We'll get them eventually, but it's going to take some time to recover those.
We can
He
recover
defended the decision to scramble fighter jets to shoot them
submarines
down.
from deeper.
Acknowledged that the first
Just say
missile
it.
fired over Lake Huron missed its target.
First shot missed, second shot hit.
New cockpit audio reveals that even the pilots were perplexed by what they saw.
I can see like lines coming down below, but I can't see anything below it. Definitely smaller than a car.
Pentagon officials have offered intriguing descriptions of the objects. One looked like a metallic drum. Another was cylindrical and carried a tethered payload. Another was octagonal in shape with strings attached.
What are these things? Who sent them here? And what
Exactly,
are they doing
Mark
here?
Rubio.
GOP senators argued today that the public deserves more answers from the commander-in-chief, who ordered the objects shot down.
I mean, my phone's ringing off the wall, and we got a president of the United States and not saying anything.
We asked White House officials if the president has any plans to make public comments about these objects, and all they would say is that he continues to be briefed and takes the situation very seriously. They did say today that they can rule out the possibility that any of these objects were connected to the U.S. government. They were able to do that after connecting with the FAA. Nora?
Okay, of course. Of course. So the pilot said these objects were metallic, which I can, maybe see a balloon looking metallic. Okay. I don't see a balloon being cylindrical. So that means it's like a cylinder, right? What kind of fucking balloon is that? Now maybe there is a balloon that's cylindrical, but octagonal. But octagonal? What fucking balloon looks octagonal? No, I don't know. It kind of throws off my fucking conspiracy senses here. An octagonal fucking balloon that fucking dodged a Sidewinder missile. Get the fuck out of here. Get out of here. But hey, perhaps this is all just an overreaction. Maybe just a little bit of mass hysteria. We should probably just take a deep breath and wait to see what the government was able to salvage from these crash sites. We should have answers here soon. U.S. and Canada call off search for unidentified airborne objects that were shot down. The U.S. and Canada search for 3 unidentified airborne objects shot down earlier this month is now over, with no debris found. And that ends the big lead.
The sharing of biased and
false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media simply aren't true without checking facts first. Unfortunately, some members of the media use those platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
So, let's end the show out with the segment called Today in TikTok.
Today in TikTok.
Ding bong, ding dong, his stone cold eye.
How can you tell me you're racist without telling me you're racist?
I literally almost just went to ask a black man if he needed a ride because I assumed he didn't have a car.
Jesus.
We're walking in a parking garage. Okay, that's what internalized racism is. And if you think it's not real, you're fucking lying to yourself. Black Lives Matter, bitch. Start doing the work.
Look, her assumption that someone would need a ride in a parking garage, regardless of skin color, is not racist, but rather stupid. That's just her internalizing racism because of white guilt. No, I don't think she's racist. I just think she's dumb. The combination of ignorance and stupidity, in my opinion, is worse than being racist because I can at least argue with someone who is racist. I can possibly figure out why they think the way they do. And you're not going to be able to argue with this.
Hey, white ladies. Denying racism in your own self is violence. You hurt the entire cause.
Oh, it's a cause
by
now, huh?
Denying that you ever had a racist thought. I don't think that way. I wasn't raised that way. That's not how I feel. I've said it before and I'll say it again. You don't have to wear a hood and you don't have to tote around a fucking Confederate flag to know that there is shit inside of your brain that you need to fix, or else you're still just perpetuating the problems of society. I get called a white savior because I can admit the shit that I do.
I don't think anybody calls you a white
Meanwhile, there's
savior.
women running around thinking that they've never, ever done anything in their life that could possibly even teeter on the edge of racism. Good luck with that delusion. I hope someday you realize that that's not the case and you can put aside your white fragility and your angelic behavior and realize that you still have work to do. And until the day you die, you're going to have work to do. And unpacking your own bullshit, not just stitching other people, not just duetting with other creators and calling them out. It's in here too. It's in here too, girls. So put away your halo. Start playing catch with your demons. It's the only way we're going to dispel them, okay?
Word. Word. She's in a cult. That's cult mentality right there. You're doing it for the greater good. You're spiritually awakening and see the flaws in others because you're doing the good work. I'm the white savior. White people need to understand it is white people versus racism. It's the monster we created and we can only destroy it. That's what that is, man. Jesus, it's fucking gross. And that was Today in TikTok.
Today in TikTok.
Freedom is strong.
Don't trust China. China is asshole.
So that is the show, guys. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the show, please hit the like button and definitely subscribe. If you do subscribe, make sure to ring that bell. I upload episodes weekly and I wouldn't want you to miss out. Audio listeners, you can subscribe too. Thank you for listening. But hey, you know you want to watch the videos we played. You can watch the Deplorable Talk Show on YouTube, Rumble, and Facebook. You can listen to the Deplorable Talk Show on Spotify, Apple, Google, and Stitcher. You can find links in the description below, or you can head to the deplorableent.com. That's the general hub for all things deplorable. Take care, guys. See you next episode.